Oh, Jesus. Oh my God. So before I jump into this video, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. Hit that like, leave me a comment, let me know where you're watching from. Just an easy way to show me a little love so I can keep bringing you this here motorcycle content. Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel. I'm the two-wheel teacher. It's another beautiful Friday. Today, I'm going to be talking about that time Harley killed their muscle bike while riding that muscle bike. Let's do it. So today I am on top of a 2016 Harley-Davidson VROD that I have borrowed from Tallahassee Harley-Davidson. I've also done a full-scale review on this bike. You can check out my channel for that. But in this video, I'm going to be talking about the fact that Harley killed this bike. Or I should say, people just didn't buy it, so Harley had to put it out to pasture, so to speak. I'm going to try and figure out why. So when I was getting ready to do this video, I wanted to try and understand why it is people didn't really buy this bike. So I went and read some old opinion pieces, some old reviews, some, you know, just people's thoughts and views on this bike, just to try and figure out, okay, when this model was first released or put onto sales floors, why didn't people buy it? Why did this bike do so poorly that people just didn't buy it? So you know, obviously I did my review and test ride on it before, and you know, I've got some thoughts. So let's talk about what I found on the internet first about why people said the VROD failed, or why, you know, why people didn't want to buy it. So a lot of people had an issue with the looks, the appearance, and the aesthetic of the bike, and I can definitely see and justify people saying how different it is, because it doesn't look like your standard Harley. You know, it was 2001 when this was first released, you know, and you had your big touring bikes, you had your back then your more retro looking Sportsters, you had your handful of Softails, you had your FXDs, and when the VROD was introduced, it was intended to be a really different bike. It was intended to fill a different niche of, you know, a Harley customer base, and to get people that wanted a sportier riding experience but also wanted a Harley in order to give them an offering. Personally, I think they nailed it, but I'll give it to people. You know, it looks different. It doesn't look like an electric glide. You got me there. A lot of people had an issue with the fact that it was, you know, not a 45-degree air-cooled V-twin. And apart from the fact that the exhaust note is different because the cadence of the motor is different because it's not a 45-degree V-twin, apart from that, I don't really get this complaint. I don't really get the point of that. You know, sure, it's a different infrastructure, it's a different power plant. I think, number one, we're going to talk about exhaust notes. This bike sounds great. I don't know how much of it you can hear. The Vance & Hines 2-in-2 on this sounds really, really, really good. And I've heard a handful of other VRODs with different exhaust systems, including stock, and they all sound really good. They sound really mean. They've got good exhaust notes, and the fact of the matter is, this at the time was the most powerful V-twin that Harley had ever made, and you can tell when you ride this thing. This thing is quick. It's got torque. It wants to rev. It wants to rev so badly, which is really, really different from that standard 45-degree air-cooled V-twin that Harley puts in most of their other bikes. But this is a bike that wants to be ridden, and ridden fast. And another complaint was seating position and just overall ergonomics in the riding experience. And I'll give the detractors a little bit. It's really different. It's not a standard cruiser position. No, I wouldn't want to go do 300 miles on this thing. It's not built for that. And I think that's, if I had a response for the absolute vast majority of criticisms about the VROD, my response would be, it wasn't built for that. Well, you know, it's not as comfortable as my big full-size dresser. It wasn't built for that. It was built to be an in-town, shorter distance, fast, mean-looking, mean-sounding muscle bike. This was not meant to compete with an Electra Glide. This was not meant to compete with a Heritage Softail. This was meant to compete with bikes like a VMAX or something like that, but it wasn't built to compete with a lot of the bikes that people wanted to compare this to. That's just not what this bike is about. When this bike is doing what it was built to be doing, it does it really, really well. Really, really comfortable. I'm flat-footed. I've got the entire bottom of each boot on the ground. The riding position is forward. It's aggressive. It's not like sitting on a Super Sport. Definitely, it's way more comfortable than that. It is a different looking bike. You know, I've only been on this thing for about 20 minutes, but passing cars or passing pedestrians, people look, because it's a neat looking bike and it's a cool sounding bike. And people who know, they're like, yeah, I know what that is. People who don't know, they want to know. So I'll admit, you know, when I first pulled this bike out to do a couple videos on it, I was skeptical about how much I was going to like it, because I figured, you know, if the riding community for so long sort of shunned this bike to the point where, you know, the last couple of years of production, you had to order one straight from the factory, and, you know, then they just canceled the bike. You know, I figured there's got to be a lot of legitimate complaints about it. But again, when you consider this bike in the proper context, when you consider what this bike was built for, when you consider who this bike was built for, this is a great muscle bike. It's really, really fun. It's easy to ride. There's not a massive learning curve with a bike like this. You know, it's just like learning to drive any other vehicle. You've got to, you know, spend some time with it, figure out the character of the power plant, figure out the handling and the ergonomics. So I guess, all things considered, this is a fantastic bike, period. And it's down at Tallahassee Harley-Davidson. If you've ever wanted a VROD, thought about a VROD, wanted to even just see a VROD or sit on one, it's down there. And you should, you know, if you're local, heck, even if you're a little less than local and you'd ever be interested in a VROD, you need to come check this thing out. Or if there's one sitting on a used lot near you and you're not local to Tallahassee, man, go check it out, because it's fun. And you got to remember, I think the biggest advantage to Harley-Davidson is just the massive parts catalog. If there's something about a way a bike is set up that you don't like, you can change it. You know, virtually every aspect and quality of a Harley-Davidson can be customized. And I think that's definitely one of the greatest advantages to going with Harley. You know, you don't have, you know, if you go with a newer brand, you're going to have to wait for more and more third-party, you know, parts and accessories builders to create an inventory and create a catalog for you to select from. Harley's the oldest continually operated American motorcycle company. You don't have to wait. They've been doing it. Oh, Jesus! Oh my God! Woo! Yes, man, that was even like coming up on 5,500 RPM, I think, and that is where this motor just wants to go. There is something really exhilarating about that exhaust, and I know I've brought it up a couple times, but having that exhaust note right behind your right ear, it's fun. So, knowing what I know now about the VROD, I would definitely hope that in the future Harley makes an effort toward another offering like this one, because if you can put this kind of machine in your model family, and if it gets marketed the right way, I think Harley could do it. And I think we're coming into an era of riding where, at least with a lot of the younger riders that I'm friends with and that I'll go riding with, brand doesn't matter to them. You know, you ride what you ride, and that's basically it. And so I think there's a gold mine of potential future customers for Harley-Davidson if they can offer some sportier options like a VROD or something akin to the VROD here in the future. which gets me really excited about bikes like the Bronx, you know, the 2021 Bronx Street Fighter with the Revolution X liquid-cooled 60-degree V-twin that they're going to put in that. That's a really exciting bike for me because it's in the same sort of category as a VROD. It's Harley stepping out of their zone. It's Harley doing something different. It's Harley offering something new, but you know, it fills a different niche. It's not a cruiser. It's not a muscle bike. It's not a sport bike. It's a street fighter. So it's sort of a, you know, it's more like a naked muscle sport bike, etc. That sort of thing. And I can tell you right now that as soon as one of those is available for a review, I'm gonna find one. Oh, as soon as I could throw my leg over it, I will. So long story short, 20 years ago, Harley built a really incredible muscle bike, and they kept it alive for 15, 16 years, and not enough people bought it. And that is a shame, because riding this thing has been really, really fun. So there you go, guys. That's my rant about the time Harley made a fantastic and fun muscle bike, and the community just wasn't having it. So leave me a comment. Let me know what you guys think about the VROD, if you've ever ridden one, if you've ever owned one, what you think about it, and if you think Harley should bring something similar to it to their lineup in the future. But till next time, I'm the two-wheel teacher, and I will see you on the road.